UFC 268 is set to be headlined by the much anticipated rematch between welterweight champ Kamaru Usman and contender Colby Covington. The two first fought in December of 2019 in a Fight of the Year contender where Usman won by late 5th round TKO. Since then, Usman went on to defend his title 3 more times, showcasing his newfound striking prowess and devastating power. Covington, on the other hand, went on to dominantly defeat former champ Tyron Woodley by 5th round TKO and will be coming into this bout after over a year out of the octagon. If this fight is anything like the first, we're definitely in for a treat. In this video, we'll break down both fighters and how they match up against one another. But before we get into it, we want to announce that we have launched our very own line of apparel. If you would like to support the channel or just rep the MMA scene of your country, click the link in the description below. Starting off with the tail of the tape, Kamaru Usman stands at 6 feet tall with a reach of 76 inches and a finish rate of 53%. Colby Covington stands at 5 foot 11 inches tall with a reach of 72 inches and a finish rate of 50%. First, let's take a look at both fighters' striking, starting with the champion. If we were to make this video a couple of years ago, this section would be a lot shorter. Kamaru Usman began his UFC run with a heavy wrestling base and ground and pound, but since teaming up with Trevor Wittman, he has become just as dangerous on the feet as he is on the ground. He sports a significant strikes landed per minute stat of 4.63 with a striking accuracy of 54% and a significant strikes absorbed per minute of 2.4 with a striking defense of 57%. Usman holds equal power in both hands and switches stances often, keeping himself unpredictable. Usman has made solid work of his jab, which has become arguably his most effective strike. He fires it from both orthodox and southpaw without any telegraphing. He also times it perfectly by stepping in with a stiff jab right when his opponent is in the process of stepping in with their lead foot or throwing a kick. Timing it like that ensures that his opponent is committed to the forward movement and is unable to move backwards to avoid the jab. Against Gilbert Burns, Usman dropped him with a stiff left jab while he was midway through throwing a kick, which led to the TKO win. This crisp and well-timed jab is Trevor Wittman's MO and is a staple of his tutelage. Just like his jab, Usman has a near perfect cross, especially when thrown from the orthodox position. He often sets it up with a jab first, but does throw it solo down the pipe with impressive speed. He'll also sometimes feint a jab and come through with a cross, which is how he knocked out Masvidal in their rematch. Usman has almost a 3-inch reach advantage on the average welterweight and 4 inches on Covington, which will allow him to keep his strikes long and pick them carefully. Another favorite of his is his overhand left, which he'll use to slip and counter off or off a takedown feint. Usman isn't a high volume striker, but hits hard when he does and does an excellent job mixing his striking and grappling together in a dangerous combo. He loves to counter and time his shots to make the most of them. Moving on to Covington, his style is similar to Usman's given that he's also a strong wrestler that picked up excellent striking skills. Colby throws high volume and constantly pressures his opponents with seemingly endless cardio. He hasn't been one to hold one-shot knockout power, but makes up for it in relentlessness. He has a significant strikes landed per minute of 4.12 and a striking accuracy of 38%, and a significant strikes absorbed per minute of 2.86 with a defense of 55%. Against Robbie Lawler, Covington threw 541 strikes and landed 10 takedowns, which should attest to his inhuman output. Covington always keeps his hands high and moving to keep his strikes unpredictable. He fights primarily southpaw, but like many southpaws, loves the left body kick to the liver. He utilizes feints very well, especially feinting takedowns and coming up top with a hook or even a flying knee. Given that he has slightly shorter than average reach and gives up 4 inches to Usman, Colby often reaches deep with long jabs, crosses, and looping overhands. He is also constantly throwing a jab, both to gauge distance and to make it difficult for his opponent to commit to strikes. Coupling that with his takedown abilities, it allows him to usually dictate the pace and pressure of the fight to his will. He doesn't put 100% behind any one strike, but instead maybe 60% power to up the volume and pressure. When fighting against other southpaws, Covington likes to throw his inside leg kicks with his lead leg, so we should expect him to try to punish Usman's leg to slow him down if he takes a southpaw position. He is primarily a headhunter though, with over 70% of his strikes being to the head and 72 in the first bout with Usman. Moving on to grappling, let's take a look at the champion, Kamaru Usman first. It should come as no surprise that both of these fighters are excellent wrestlers, which is also why it shouldn't have been a surprise that their last fight had a lack of wrestling exchanges. The rematch is also likely to be mostly a kickboxing match, but both fighters will be sure to be ready in case they need to take the fight to the ground. Usman is an explosive wrestler, and his pedigree has been very apparent throughout his entire UFC career. He has a takedown average of 3.27, takedown accuracy of 48%, a submission average of 0.1, and the best takedown defense in UFC history at 100%. To add to the accolades, he has the 6th highest control time in UFC history at 1 hour and 57 minutes and is tied for the lowest bottom position at 0 seconds. His highest percentage and favorite takedown has to be the double leg, which he showcased in nearly every single fight. Whether it's a blast double from the center of the octagon, a double leg from the cage, or a double leg turned into body lock and inside leg trip, if Usman wants to take you down, chances are you won't be able to stop him. Usman is excellent at timing his entries off of his opponent's strikes or his own feints. Along with the double legs, he also likes to use low single legs and body locks to get his opponents down to the ground. If he has his opponents up against the cage and he can't get his hands locked for a double leg, he'll transition up for a body lock where others might stubbornly continue to fight for the double. This is where he'll go for trips and sweeps, often chaining multiple together till one sticks. Not all of his takedowns are sudden finishes though. Against stubborn opponents, he'll systematically break down their posture, often trying to keep them against the cage and get at least one knee grounded, at which point he can pressure down with a wide stance. From here, he will continue to break down his opponent's posture while mixing in strikes to the body to soften them up. Once he has them down, Usman will maintain control, often through dominant positions like side control or mount, where he prioritizes wrist control to be able to hold position. And then comes the ground and pound. Usman has only ever attempted 2 submissions in his UFC career, with the last being nearly 5 years ago, so you probably shouldn't expect it this time around. Moving on to Covington, he is similar to Usman in his dominant wrestling. He has taken down every single opponent he's fought in the UFC except for Usman and Damian Maia. He's also tied with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Johnny Hendricks for 8th most takedowns in UFC history at 61. He also has a high takedown average of 4.61, a takedown accuracy of 50%, takedown defense of 75%, and a submission average of 0.1. His high takedown output matches his relentless pressure style well and allows him to keep his opponents always guessing and biting on feints. Double legs are definitely his bread and butter, and he has mastered all forms. If he can't get them right away and has his opponents against the cage, he will continue to pressure with his legs wide, trying to clasp his hands together and take his opponents for a ride. If that doesn't work, he will often slip under his opponent's arm using an underhook for a body lock, which goes hand in hand with a double leg inside the cage. From the body lock, his go-to takedown finishes are either a simple drag or, much prettier, lateral throw. Once on the ground, Covington is always trying to advance position and grind his opponent down. While mixing in some strike, he'll look to pressure down with his hips and climb up his opponents toward their shoulders for optimal control while keeping their posture broken. When this happens, it's common to see his opponents give up their back in an attempt to escape from the bottom, which when Colby will either throw a seatbelt grip over the top and continue the ground and pound, or go for a back take and rear naked choke. Since Covington is always advancing position and landing ground and pound, it's common for his opponents to manage to get back up, but usually not for long. Covington and his seamlessly endless gas tank will continue to pressure takedown after takedown, whereas others might focus on maintaining control over landing effective strikes. This is why his takedowns landed in a fight can go into the double digits even in a 3-round bout. Much like Usman, Colby also hasn't attempted a submission in nearly 5 years, so it's yet another reason not to expect a submission to finish this fight. Now, how do these two stack up against each other? Although they may be polar opposite in terms of personality and fan bases, there are a lot of parallels to be drawn. Both are excellent wrestlers with dominant top control, and are both effective strikers as well. Surprisingly, Usman outlanded Colby in their first bout but only pulled ahead in the later rounds. Given that they didn't wrestle much the first time around, we probably shouldn't expect it this time either, unless there's a potential panic wrestling situation where one of them is hurt. Although Colby does have a couple of wins by strike knockouts, his last one was against Max Griffin back in 2016. We should probably expect him to try to ground out this fight through a decision win with high output and pressure. Usman, on the other hand, is a cardio machine in his own right and won't fade easily. Usman will likely be on the back foot looking to use Colby's forward pressure against him and pick his shots very carefully to end this fight in a knockout. No matter, this should be an exciting fight which is highlighted through bad blood and the world title on the line. Who do you think takes it? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy our content, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.